Welcome, everybody. It is the North American Star League, and we are so excited to have you. Thanks for joining us. Before we go any further, let's do some introductions. I am Jeff In Control Robinson. To my right is the most handsome Andre Greetorp Hongshua. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing absolutely fantastic, man. You know, it's been a long way since coming to this, and I couldn't be more excited.
We've been doing this for a long time. A lot of you guys have seen some hype on the Twitter, on Team Liquid. We did a Clash of the Titans. We learned from some mistakes. We've definitely pocketed some definitely good things we can take from all that as well. And one of the nice things, we've had a lot of feedback from you guys throughout this whole process. I feel a little bit, not to be presumptuous, a little bit like Blizzard, where we're like, here's what we're thinking, and someone's like, no, it's a terrible idea. And we're like, yeah, we were thinking about that for reals. And everyone's like, yeah, that's okay, cool. Thank you for doing that. So it's nice to be so involved with the community. It's nice to have you guys all here. It's the North American Star League. It's $100,000. It's in the West. We've got amazing players. We're really, really happy to have even just come this far, and we cannot wait to take the journey even further, Greetorp.
Indeed, man. I mean, it's really nice that me and you both are community members as well, so we can actually integrate and interact with all of the people that want to give input in it, and it's just been so helpful throughout this entire process, and this is what we have here. I love everything about it. It's just, and of course I get to sit next to my favorite person in the world, sir. Blood Brother 1, sir.
Blood Brother 2 out. Well, not out. Actually, we got to start this whole thing off, I suppose. Yeah, Blood Brother in. That's good. For those of you joining us in the low-quality stream, welcome. Thank you for joining us. Please do check out the high-quality stream. If you guys like what you see, it is in 1080p. You can access that through the NASL TV. It's just $25 for 3 months of fantastic content. But you know what? If it's not for you, that's totally fine, too. We're just actually happy to have all of you here one way or another. So that's the introductions. That's the league. Cannot wait. Let's go through the matchups really quick.
Well, we have some ridiculous matchups coming up. Let me go ahead and get all the matches. We do have Moon versus Grubby is going to be our first match, but hold on, Jeff.
Whatever.
Hold on.
I guess.
We're going to go into Game 2, Vibe against TLO. Game 3 is going to be featuring Artosis versus Chef. Game 4 is going to be featuring Phoenix versus Kiwi Kaki. And last but not least, we got this guy, Rainbow. Versus Morrow.
Morrow versus Rainbow.
Wait to go into those, but I'm going to hold off a little bit, because before we go into the games, we have to go into what maps we're using. Jeff, why don't you tell us a little bit about the maps?
Well, we're doing Map Group A today for Division 1, and the way the groups or the maps work is that we wanted to make a system where all the players know exactly what maps to train for, because we don't want to say, hey, here's 9 maps and you got to train for all of them. I mean, some tournaments do that, and there is certainly an element of excellence to that as well. But you know, it's kind of like the GSL standard where it's like, okay, you've got your opponent each week and you've got your maps. Here's what you train for. And we really want to see what competitors can do when they know all elements at play, when they can really work towards their opponents. So the maps are fixed, 1, 2, and 3. There is not going to be any loser picks or any kind of ace in the hole, so to speak, in that way. So the first map is going to be Tournamus Re. Second one is Crossfire SE. And the last one is Backwater Gulch, which a lot of people have had some comments on. It is a Blizzard ladder map. It is not a GSL map. It's not an MLG map. It's not one of those big ones where people are seeing it in the high stages, and that's okay. The NASL is perfectly comfortable with pushing the envelope just a little bit and seeing what pro players can do on some of these maps. I think Backwater Gulch is a fantastic map. It's going to make for some exciting games, and I can't wait to see what happens there. Game number 3.
Indeed. I mean, these players, they're going to have just about a week to train for all of these. Every single one of these matches, they're going to have a week. And that,
they had more for this week,
that's actually very unique.
Yeah.
It's a very unique idea for tournaments in the foreign scene. Again, not a lot of tournaments feature that kind of preparation, but now players can say, okay, I'm going to prepare for these matches, these certain builds. I'm going to do this, this, and this on all of these maps. And it makes for some very intricate games. I can actually go into it saying, okay, I'm going to cheese on this map because I don't want to spend too much time on it. It's not too strong for me to spend time on it. And rather, I'm going to focus on these other 2 maps and make sure for certain that I'm super competent at those maps.
And the nice thing for the viewer, too, is that because the map system and the way it works, there's not going to be any other day where you see the same map. So actually, tomorrow with Division 2 and Division 3 and the following day, you guys are actually going to see a different map set for each of those days. And it's going to rotate. It's going to come back. The map group A is going to make its face again, known later in the tournament. But it's nice to kind of get that diversity for the observers as well, so you guys can actually see different maps and how players interpret them. So it's kind of fantastic that way for both the observer and the competitor. But we're going to actually do a little bit of analysis on the maps. I actually have with me the fly cam of Terminus Re. And basically, it's like a little StarCraft 2 helicopter. And we're just going to go through the map real quick and kind of talk about some of the big focal points and why this map is important. So you can kind of see general main layout, pretty standard. Nothing too gimmicky here. But the couple of interesting points are the naturals. So right away, we go down the ramp, and we have the main base going into the natural and a secondary natural with a rich gas expansion. So the gas expansion actually mines at 1.5, which is a lot, it's 0.5 faster than normal gases. But this is the macro map. This is the map where a lot of players can actually double expand with the same kind of protection here at the choke point, or they can go ahead and solo expand or cheese because they know their opponent's trying to double expand, spending their resources that way. So a little bit interesting in that sense. And then we're going to go ahead, go right down the middle of the map, a couple of expansions here, and actually in this fly cam, those are actually going to be normal. Just normal minerals. They're high yield in the fly cam. This helicopter actually is flying over a past map, if you will. It's going to be normal expansions. There, no high yield. A little bit silliness there, but that's okay. Now, in the middle of the map, there's another interesting point to point out, and that is just that the Xel'Naga towers are extremely key in this map in particular. And that is because, there's some maps like Steps of War, a map that people used to have to play on in the past, where the towers didn't necessarily reveal the middle of the map or kind of any like normal pathing for aggression or defensive important points. But in this map, that's not the case. This map, it shows entryways into the main bases and into the natural. So if you control those towers, you can kind of see where your opponent's going or where he's not going, as it were. And then other than that, it's just, this is a 1v1 league, so there's a lot of bases available to everybody. Each of these mains has 2 naturals, but then there's also these pocket expansions in the middle and pocket expansions on the sides of the map. So a lot of expansions are made available to players. It's a big map. When you actually see their spawning locations touch down, they look like little blue Smurfs on a giant landscape. And that just means that there's a lot of space between your opponent and you. So if you make a mistake, it's not necessarily the end of the game because they're at your doorstep the next few seconds. But the big macro map of the map pool, and we're pretty excited about that. Now, map number 2, and again, these are fixed maps. So all the players are going to start with Terminus Re, the big macro map, and they're going to slide right into, for sure, no one's going to have a one-game victory here. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Crossfire. Now, Crossfire is not a small map. It is a 1v1 map, so your opponent's base location is predictable in that sense. Again, normal base layout for the main, except with this destructible rock in the back. And that's worth noting because that's easy access both for your opponent. Well, I say easy, but I guess it's really not because there's a long path over here to your, I guess we can call it the third base, your second natural. But it's easy access for you to that base as well. So it behooves players to kind of plan for the future and tear that rock down when they're ready to so that they can have easier access to that base on the right side to defend. Now, again, just pretty basic layout, natural over here. Very standard. But the important point here is the wide open space in the front of that natural. As you can see, the ramp leads down and it feeds right into the natural and then almost into what we call like a mega ramp, which goes up and then down. So there's a lot of raised grounds on this map, and I guess that's one of the points that we need to talk about right now. And that's because this is very positionally based, meaning if you secure that top up the ramp area, you're actually securing yourself an amazing staging point for aggression to the natural. You can bleed the third or even into the main. So it's very threatening if your opponent gets up there and secures himself. So siege tanks, Colossus, these are the kinds of things of nightmares for a lot of opponents. So look to that kind of positional gameplay in all these series. Now, the wide open berth, kind of talked about that. Again, very good for the aggressor, very difficult for the defender. And just one of the things that we kind of have to look through as we soar through this map in a little mini StarCraft 2 helicopter is lots and lots of plateaus, lots of kind of tight corridors. This is a very positional map, and I know you've heard me say that term maybe 300 times, so I'm going to say it 600 more through the cast, because this is the map where there's such emphasis on that kind of gameplay. So really look to opponents kind of securing the chokes, watching the towers, and making sure that they know exactly where their opponent's going and what he is thinking. So we can just kind of make our way over here. A lot of expansions for this map, too. There's actually little pocket expansions on either side. There are high-yield expansions on this map. Difficult to take. There is raised ground on either side of it and kind of open entry all around it, so there's not really a place you can defend it. You kind of have to rely on your army's mobility that way. But it is, like I said, it's a 1v1 map. The Rushes are not blitzkrieging fast, but it is not a massive map. This is going to be our medium-sized map in this map pool, and this is where we're going to look to see players kind of bust out their tricky play. This is where a lot of the smart players will be rewarded. Well, first and foremost, before you guys roll your eyes and groan just a little bit, give the map a chance. I think we're going to see some pretty exciting and awesome games. There was a drastic map imbalance on this map. It used to be that the main had a bigger ramp that led down into a bigger ramp even still, and it kind of steered away from the natural, so it was really hard for Zerg players to spread that creep, to get their queen there, and to defend against early tactics like 4 gates or even just kind of bio all-ins from Terran players or even Hellion harass. So that was corrected. Blizzard, in their brilliant foresight, actually changed the ramp so it actually feeds right into the natural, and we can actually go to that right now and see. And there it is. So the ramp actually curves right around into this natural area, and that's much better for the Zerg players in particular, but really honestly anyone. You want to have a natural that's fairly easy to defend because you don't want to see a whole lot of one-base play. That makes for pretty shallow gameplay overall. Now, a quick note about this map is that we do have destructible rocks on either side of this kind of larger plateau area. And they're not necessarily so threatening in and of themselves, but they will reward the players that prepare better. If you're watching for both those spots, and if you're making sure that your opponent's not accessing them under your nose, then you're going to do better on this map. Moving forward, there is the high yield expansions in the middle of the map. These are difficult to uphold. Again, no real easy defensible points. In fact, they're just smack dab in the middle. There's even ground behind each of these mineral lines, great for sieging, like Colossus, Infestors, Broodlords, tanks, all these things of sieging ability. That's really good for them. And it would behoove players to take those spots, actually, because they both have Xel'Naga towers as well. So this is a 4-player map, meaning that there are 4 starting locations, and it is not evened out so that there's no close spawns. Now, this map is pretty symmetrical in the sense that in all the spot locations, the rush distance is not drastically severe, so players across the map or quote-unquote close positions will not be experiencing too much of a different gameplay. It does shape it just slightly, but not ever so much.
So we can also see that these maps are going to be featuring almost an economic route all the way down, slowly converging to a more micro-oriented style. And we're going to see how these players are going to be able to adapt to these maps. Let's go ahead and get into the matchups, too, because we have a lot to talk about these players. Game 5 is going to be featuring Rainbow versus Morrow. Now, Rainbow, this guy is... well, he is a Korean superstar, to be completely honest. He was a professional StarCraft 1 player, and then was like, hey, I'm going to become a professional StarCraft 2 player. And
he was one of the guys that shaped the game.
Yeah.
His Reaver shuttle micro in early StarCraft, and a lot of people are like, Reaver what? But that's actually, you know, check out Liquipedia on Team Liquid. That's where those terms come from. But I'll tell you what, he actually crafted the game around his micro and just his vision. He was one of those guys that set the trend for other players. People would look to his play to decide how they're going to play StarCraft and StarCraft Brood War, and he did it with class. He was a consummate pro, always in and around the finals of every tournament he entered, just about. Been playing over the span of like a decade or something ridiculous like that. We are so pleased to have him here in StarCraft 2 from Team StarTale. Rainbow is an amazing player. Playing Terran, actually. I said Reaver and Shuttle, which would be the Protoss predecessors, I suppose. But in StarCraft 2, he is the micro and tactician that is the Terran player.
Indeed, and on the other side we do have Morrow, the Infested Terran. And I say Infested Terran because he started StarCraft 2 as a Terran player, and then won a huge tournament, the Intel Extreme Masters Finals, and in Cologne, I do believe.
Well, that has to be like the most non-dramatic story I've ever heard. He beat Idra, Evil Genius's Idra in the finals. Crushed him, okay? Like, not even close. And Idra's kind of considered the villain of StarCraft 2. It was like this epic battle. And in the end, of course, Idra has to say, well, it wasn't you. It was actually the fact that you played Terran. Terran's imbalanced. Morrow is such a sports competitor that he says, okay, I'll play Zerg. And actually, for a couple of months, he sucked. A lot of people were like, oh, what a terrible mistake. You win this tournament. You're actually this terrible Zerg. Zerg's imbalanced really hard. I told you so. Well, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? A couple months later, this guy is considered one of the best players in Europe and certainly one of the best Zerg players in all of Europe. He actually just lost a final to Liquid Ret in one of the biggest European tournaments to date. He is still doing it, and here we are seeing him face against a Korean.
Indeed, it's going to be an exciting match. Game 4 is going to be featuring Fnatic MSI Phoenix against Roots Kiwikaki. Now, Phoenix, this guy is near and dear to my heart as we actually play on the same team. Phoenix is known for his hyper-aggression. When I say hyper-aggression, I mean hyper-aggression. This guy, if I actually got into a fist fight with him, he punched me, kicked me, headbutted me, he bit me, yeah, he thrusted me.
Would be flocking your face.
Everything.
Yep.
All at the same time, may I add. All at the same time. This guy will attack you from multiple sides just for the sake of for attacking you at multiple sides. And he's really making a statement saying, hey, if you want to beat me, you have to keep up and play either as fast or faster than me.
And we're going to play Phoenix's clip just now.
Who do you think is going to be the hardest match of your division?
The most probably will be our Moon and Kiwikaki. They are making good decisions and they have good builds, so will be hard.
All right, that was a little bit of Phoenix, and he actually talked about Kiwikaki in his interview, saying that he's actually pretty scared of him, and for good reason.
Yeah.
This guy, Kiwikaki, he just finished second in the recent MLG Dallas, and it was actually his second finish for second place.
He's a little bit of a Marine King there. But that's not like any kind of slander to him at all. That means he, in a field of some of the best players in all the world, Europeans, Americans, it was open to Koreans, none showed at Dallas, but hopefully in the future. He plays second, which is freaking amazing. Kiwikaki from Team Root is a phenomenal Protoss player. There is actually, it's awesome, because you'll never find anyone except Idra, but you can say that about anything, who will say he's not a good player. Like, everyone is like, oh, he's amazing.
Yeah.
Axlab from Team Evil Geniuses actually is like the biggest fanboy of him. Every time I'm like, hey, Axlab, what do you do on this map? He's like, well, Kiwikaki. And I'm like, Axlab, what are you doing? He goes, oh, I just do what Kiwikaki does.
Yeah, Kiwikaki is always on the cutting edge of what to do with Protoss. The guy's so intelligent, so innovative, and you think like his style is completely new, but then all of a sudden you wait 1-2 weeks later and everybody is doing it. Kiwikaki, definitely a trendsetter, and we're going to be looking to see a fierce matchup.
And tell me a little bit about the matchup. I mean, we have Fnatic Phoenix, a guy who all we can talk about is his aggression. He's just been doing it since Brood War. He's a fantastic young player. Versus Kiwikaki, the guy who is like a Picasso for StarCraft 2. Like, everything he does is somehow from the future. It's ingenious. It's like, that seems stupid. Then it works. Yeah. It's like, oh my god, it's amazing. So in this hyper aggression versus the artist, what do you think about like the maps? Like Terminus Re, that's a big macro map. Neither of these guys are necessarily known for their super macro.
Well, I think it's just going to be about Phoenix trying to take tempo control the entire game. If he's going to be able to dictate where the game goes, how it plays out, then I think he's going to have a very strong advantage. He loves to control the game like that. But if Kiwikaki holds resilient, keeps his composure, and just lets his base start rolling into himself, he might find himself in a very good position, as Phoenix might be in not the most optimal army composition.
Yeah. We'll see. I mean, Kiwikaki, you got to be considered the favorite. He's the favorite to, and everything enters. Like, top 2 at MLG Dallas. So really excited about that. What's number 3?
Game 3 is going to be featuring Artosis versus Chef.
6 Jax Artosis, FXO Chef.
6 Jax Artosis.
Yes.
This guy. All right. I actually had the pleasure of sleeping with Artosis. Wait.
Okay, well, go ahead and finish that line.
Let me explain. We were in Korea, and I slept with him.
Nope.
Okay.
You need more detail. Head to toe.
No, that's about it, sir.
Okay, well.
That's about it.
Be that as it may, sexual encounters aside, Artosis is actually also, you may know him as a commentator from the GSL. He is considered probably the best commentator in all of the world, and I would actually go ahead and agree with that. If I could, I would have a poster of him up over my bed, but I would never be able to get a girl into that room. I would get Greetorp in there, actually, which is kind of funny. But Artosis is not just a fantastic commentator. A lot of us in the community, Greetorp and myself, know him as one of the best StarCraft players of all time. And that seems like an outlandish, ridiculous comment, but you need to stop playing World of Warcraft. You should have played Brood War. He actually made it to the USA Finals each year. He placed exceptionally highly. Yeah. He went to Korea. He competed. He actually qualified for a GSL. The accolades for this guy go out the window. He has done glorious things for the game over the course of a decade, and we are so excited to have him here in the North American Star League.
He's been a professional StarCraft 2 player. He has also been a professional StarCraft 2 commentator for just about 2.5 years, but I think the biggest thing is he's been a professional competitor for maybe 27, 28 years of his life.
And he's been a lover of StarCraft since the day it touched down. The
Yeah,
guy,
definitely.
it was love at first sight for sure.
Without doubt. And he's going to be pitted against Chef. Now, Chef is coming from Team FXO.
Yes.
He is going to be showing his quality. He's one of the North American superstars of Zerg. This guy is so strong, aggressive, and able to play so many different styles. He really has done quite well. He actually finished quite high up, 17th place in MLG for the first major LAN. And not only that, he was able to take a huge Michigan LAN. I actually have a clip on him. This guy, his reaction to Artosis, but we're going to go into that. Let the tape talk for itself.
And not only that, you have a lot of different players all around. You have players like Morrow, Rainbow, like you said. You have even Artosis is going to be in your group too. So definitely
So we can definitely see that Chef, might think a little bit. I don't know. I'll let everybody
Confident?
actually confident. That's
Okay.
a good word.
And why not? When I look at FXO Chef as a player, and I say I as I would say kind of a competitor. When a competitor looks at FXO Chef, they see solidarity in gameplay. They see there's no he's a micro guy, he's a macro guy, he's a cheese guy. He's not. He's just a solid Zerg. Everything he does is well-rounded, well-versed, and fantastic. So a lot of people look at this and say Artosis is kind of like the token celebrity of the league. Like he's not necessarily here for his skill, but I'll tell you what. When looking at this match, I think Artosis is going to win even more fans if you can imagine that. He's like the most fan favorite of ever. I mean, how can you have a bad opinion of Artosis? But look to Chef to kind of shut it down because Chef is fantastic.
Let me tell you that Chef isn't going to take anything lightly. He's going to be preparing for his matches. I actually have an interview with him again about how he's going to prepare for things. Let's go ahead and take a look at that, as it's quite interesting how he's going to be preparing, and he's not going to be taking anything lightly.
that is, you have a week to train for whoever you're playing against. Are you the type of player that's actually going to prepare for that individual person, or are you preparing more for just your all-around build, or what? How do you prepare for your matches?
Well, in StarCraft 2, players can switch builds, but they generally have a style. So I'll look at their style. If they do a bunch of all-ins, I'll obviously be a little more prepared for that. If they do a lot of macro games, or if they're comfortable with it, I'll try and do that. And again, if someone's not comfortable with something, like if a player loses a lot to roach rushes or something, maybe I won't roach rush, maybe I'll fake roach rush, just to, throw them off their game a little bit. And, you really just play for the matchup, and you just kind of look at little things that they do wrong and try and abuse them.
All right, and that'll be match number 3. So what's going to be match number 2, Gritor?
Match number 2 is going to be featuring Vibe versus TLO. Now, Vibe is from Sick Jacks,
Yep.
and TLO, the little one, is from Team Liquid. And I'm actually really looking forward to this match because Vibe, he's a relatively unknown North American player, but this guy is so good. He performed extremely well at the recent MLG.
The NASL got a lot of hate for. Let's dive into it.
Well,
when his name was announced, they were like, "What? Who's that guy?"
Let me explain to you his style, okay? Well, it's a one facet of his style, but let me explain that in depth. A lot of StarCraft is measured by something called APM, actions per minute. Now, if I touch a button on the keyboard or press the mouse whatsoever, that's considered one action. Me, I'm a semi-professional gamer, and I'm around 140 to 180 actions per second.
Stunningly
That's
slow.
2 or 3 actions per... You make me so sad.
I'm trying to make you laugh.
2 to 3 actions per second. Now, that is pretty fast for the regular human being. Vibe is going 400 to 500 actions per minute. That
It's actually legit too.
is stunning.
I sat behind this guy at MLG Dallas because I mean, like, if you go to the gym and you bench press a lot of weight, everyone's like, I gotta see that. Nah. He's like, nah, I do more than that. But then they have to go see it, right? They got to sit around this guy. So APM is the same for us StarCraft players. When someone's like, I have 500 actions per minute, they're like, no. Okay, like maybe 300, maybe. So they have to go see it, is what happened. And I did that. I was that guy. And I sat behind him. And I've never seen a Zerg inject so fast. In fact, it happened so fast that I thought I had a momentary seizure every 15 seconds on watching him play.
Yeah.
He has custom hotkeys. He moves through it with the space bar, I think is actually what he uses to inject. And it's a thing of beauty. He's very fast. And his gameplay adheres to that. And that's actually what's so good about him. He's not one of those guys that has blazing APM, but doesn't really utilize it. He actually plays fast. He loves the Zerglings. He loves the Infestor. And he loves the Nidus Worm. And thank you, Vibe. There are so many Zergs that need to use the Nidus Worm more, except when they play against me. I'm totally fine with them not using it against me. That's
Absolutely.
fantastic.
Me too.
Continue, please. But Vibe, all over the place. Super fast, super strong. I like to think of this matchup as Brain versus Bronze. We've talked about the Brawn. That's the APM.
Indeed.
Tell me a little bit about this guy named Liquid TLO, the little one.
Well, he might be one of the most popular players in StarCraft 2.
Pretty easy to say.
The little one. This guy is the innovator of innovators.
Yes.
Plays random, and he has been able to successfully create new styles with every single race. And not only that,
Same matchup. It's like no problem.
not only that, he's able to have them succeed every single time. He's such a quick thinker, one of the best decision makers I've ever seen before in my life. And not only that, a true pleasure to talk to. I actually had the pleasure of meeting up with him at MLG. Guy is such a nice guy, and on top of that, he's such a deadly StarCraft 2 player.
He is the all-encompassing StarCraft 2 professional. I mean, it's no question why Sony Ericsson has pursued a personal sponsorship of him. Why Team Liquid proudly bolsters this fine young gentleman. Dario will dress nicely for LANs. He will show up practiced. He takes care of himself. He's not out partying every night. And then when he plays, like we've been talking about, and we'll talk about forever, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't know who TLO is, check out his YouTube video. I think it's his famous game against NASL from Team Liquid as well, where he actually kind of came out on the scene dropping defensive nukes, which sounds zany and only makes sense in a world where TLO exists. But I'm glad it exists because it actually makes me excited. Many excited. So it's the Brain versus the Brawn. It's going to be the guy who interprets this matchup in ways that we can only imagine and see unveiled before us, versus the guy who doesn't give a crap. He's going to bullhead charge through that brick wall and come after you. And that is Vibe from Team 6 Jacks. I am actually really excited for this matchup. I think Vibe's got people to prove. He's got to shut up a lot of haters. Not rightfully so. I mean, he's actually one of the nicer guys, and he just tries to play the game really high. So be it as it may. Versus Team Liquid's the little one, who fan favorite easily. I would say it's him and Artosis, like neck and neck. I don't know who's more the favorite, but he's up there. He's way up there.
Indeed. And last but not least, well, actually, we're going to be starting with these two players. Let me tell you, I am looking for this so much because we have Moon versus Grubby. You are not watching Warcraft 3. You are indeed watching StarCraft 2. Moon versus Grubby going at it. Now, these two players have met up so many times in Warcraft 3. And not only have they met up in tournaments, they've met up in tournament finals.
It's like it's got its own lore, you know, like Native American stories of like warring, amazing spirits that just kind of meet up throughout the ages. That's Grubby. Ugh, that's like a combination of the names. Grubby versus Moon. Grubby has made his own team recently. He's kind of doing it alone because he's that big of a deal, ladies and gentlemen. The guy is the Michael Jordan of esports. He's capable of saying, anybody want to sponsor me? And people like close in like sharks, blood in the water type of thing. And on the other side, we have We Made Fox, Moon. We Made is a professional team in Korea. Moon is a pro. This guy has won. I mean, if we can say, I don't know the official numbers, so someone's gonna Google me and call me an idiot, or they're gonna think I'm brilliant, so I shouldn't have done that whole diatribe. But Moon, I think, has bested Grubby more than he's lost to Grubby. I think there's been exchanges, but Moon is considered the guy that Grubby has to beat. And wow, right out of the gate, it's like, hey Grubby, remember him? Right off the bat.
I mean, Grubby definitely has a handful, but I do want to say, I do believe that you are correct, but Grubby recently has taken most of the games off of Moon, so he has a better recent statistics against Moon. So we're going to see a little bit of, I mean, we're definitely going to see a lot of rivalry going into this game, but
I can't wait. I can't wait. I mean, even the races they play. Grubby, famous for being an orc player, plays
Protoss.
Protoss. Blade Master, anyone? DT, hello.
Templar.
And
Hello.
then Moon, the Zergs of Warcraft 3. Now he plays Zerg.
Indubitably, as they would say in Warcraft 3, indubitably.
They try to. It's a big word. It is hard to get through.
But that's going to be a pretty epic map. Moon just recently won a huge tournament, or actually second place in a huge tournament.
Yeah.
The Assembly tournament.
Losing to another Korean Protoss.
Or no, it was the Intel Extreme Masters Cup.
Yes.
It was the Intel. And Grubby actually showed it a lot of skill in the recent MLG. I cannot wait for this match. It is going to be absolutely epic. And we are going to be going directly into Game 1. I do believe we have it all set up, so we will catch you in the game.
So ladies and gentlemen, this is the North American Star League. We cannot wait to get started. Let's do it now.